Dear President Xi, President Trump, and Mr. Larry Fink, April 21, 2020 by Anna von Reitz. Gentlemen, we are at an unprecedented point in history, and as you all know, it has nothing to do with any actual virus. Or even 5G. Both of those unpleasantries are only symptoms of the actual problem, the banking system. It has come to our ears that Mr. Fink is offering President Xi our bonds as payment toward the U.S. trade deficit owed to China. There are a number of problems with that proposal, which we must bring forward to you and the rest of the world. First and foremost, Mr. Fink's bonding company operations are all incorporated under our auspices. The United States, Inc. and its franchises were exercising our delegated powers when it issued his charters, which means that Mr. Fink's incorporated businesses belong to us, not the United States, and they are forfeit to us for unlawful and illegal securitization activities. Read that Larry Fink's position as a bonding agent is null and void. Second, those bonds are defaulted because they are not payable in behalf of the United States, or Larry Fink, or anyone but the people who are the actual holders in due course, for lack of authority to sell them in our names. Read that, they are defaulted because they don't belong to the people attempting to sell them. Those bonds were literally issued in each of our names and assigned serial numbers in our names, and the assets backing those bonds are ours. Literally. And we don't owe China a penny. In case you all missed the point, we, the American states and people, already paid for the goods we purchased from China with our labor at the cash register. If China didn't get the value of that transaction, it is the fault of the municipal United States, the Pope, the Queen, and the government of Westminster. It is not the fault of the United States of America, and not the fault of the territorial version doing business as the United States of America, either. Third, as you all have cause to know, non-consensual securitization of labor and physical assets is a crime throughout the world, and those bonds and the assets backing them have been stolen from the purported issuers via illegal bonding and securitization processes based on false registration and conscription, press ganging, in other words, which has been outlawed globally for 200 years. In conclusion, though the assets backing those bonds are real, they don't belong to Larry Fink, and they don't belong to the United States, Inc., and they don't belong to anyone but those people whose names are attached to them. Those bonds are the result of outrageous illegal securitization practices, and if allowed to be sold in compensation of our subcontractors' debts to China, would represent the fruits of press ganging, human trafficking, kidnapping, inland piracy, enslavement, involuntary peonage, extortion under color of law, and a long list of other odious crimes against us and against our people, who are innocent third parties. China produced the goods in good faith. We bought them in good faith. Neither we nor China have a problem with each other. We both have a problem with the middlemen, again, and they are rushing around with both pockets turned inside out, offering our assets to China in payment of their debts. This all presents a picture bordering on the ridiculous. Subcontractors selling their employers into bondage? Then trying to sell those thoroughly illegal bonds to their creditors in payment of their own debts? No, we don't know which country Mr. Fink thinks he belongs to or which basket he presumes his eggs are in, but his activities are illegal, and he is attempting to peddle goods that don't belong to him and which are not subject as chattel for the debts of the municipal United States. Those bonds belong to actual living people who are not citizens of the United States, nor for that matter, are the presumed issuers of those bonds U.S. citizens, either. Those bonds belong to the American states and people, doing business as the United States of America unincorporated, who have been the victims of a repugnant crime scheme directed by the government of Westminster, benefiting that foreign government, the Pope, and the Queen, in gross breach of trust, in violation of their commercial service contracts, and in gross violation of international law. So, those bonds belong to our individual people, and all benefit and possession of them belongs to the United States of America unincorporated in international jurisdiction. We ask everyone concerned to come to their senses and bill the guilty parties. The bonds and the assets backing them don't belong to Seed and Company, don't belong to the United States or the United States, Inc. or the United States of America, Inc., the DTCC, or Larry Fink, either. They belong to individual Americans. President Xi, you must understand that the American people already paid at the cash counter for all the goods they purchased from China. They paid with script based on the value of their own labor. They are not further indebted to China. To the extent that these bunco artists have sold us all a bill of goods and now propose to pay off their debts with illegally securitized assets that actually belong to third parties, it should simply be regarded as criminal activity and nipped in the bud. The stolen bonds should be returned to the non-consensual participants and the assets backing them should be released for the benefit of the victims of this hideous scam. That is what common sense, decency, and international law demands. Possession by pirates does not change ownership. You can all see the names of the people attached to the serial numbers of those bonds. Enough of this criminality is enough. The focus now should be on Westminster, and on Prince Philip, who illegally received the benefit of $950 trillion in life force value annuities owed to the same victims. Need we say more?